kindergarten for almost 40 years in the little town I'm from in Kansas. And so when I go there, and she's on the phone trying to talk to somebody, at area agency for aging or whatever, she's all like, Michelle, is that you? Oh, good. Hi, Michelle. And then she has a whole big long, and then of course they can't do enough for her, you know what I mean? Like, I'll say, Mom, you're not gonna get anybody down there to come to the house and do that. She's like, well, I'll just call, and then. But then I go to talk to people. And find out they were her students too.
Oh, wow.
And then they tell me different things like, she was so scary.
People always say that about my mom too,
Scared.
and it cracks me up.
Scared of her.
Do you think she's
great big hairy men at the tire store? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay. She's like this.
Yeah, she's like a tiny little lady or something. Yeah. Same with my mom.
Did she teach? What did she teach?
She was a secretary at elementary, middle, and high school.
Cause that's the discipline with the principal.
Exactly, work with the principal. Yeah, maybe that is why. That's probably part of it. I never thought about that too much.
She comes to the door and says, come to the office, you're gonna go, oh.
Do I have to?
Right, what did I do this time? Where are you from?
I'm upstate New York, like
Well, that's interesting.
a small town, yeah.
You and McEnany.
Yeah, she's from Albany. Well, I
Yeah.
guess I don't know if that's where she's from, but that's where she
She's from a little town,
is. She?
like a little bitty town.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
600 people or something like.
Oh, that's
not
even
much
smaller
big-
than where I'm from.
Yeah, not much bigger than this town.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. Do you remember the name of it?
I don't.
I'll have to ask her sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm from, it's called the town of Lansing, which is like a suburb of Ithaca.
yeah,
So I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No, I have.
Okay.
I have.
We have so many upstate New York people,
Couple, yeah.
There is
Who
a-
else?
there
Oh,
is
that's
a-
true, Amanda. I
right?
forgot,
Amanda,
is
yeah,
too.
exactly.
So Amanda's
She
like
too?
Buffalo area.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's interesting. It's
I
interesting.
said, where I'm from is practically, Northwest PA, I'm like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're
from-
right there.
20 miles from Jamestown, New York,
Right,
which
you're
is
right there.
Chautauqua
Yeah,
and all of that. It's
Yeah.
all right there, yeah.
well, and I remember the years ago when we moved to Benton County, I was still married and lived over west of Philomath.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all going on.
We're getting
there.
closed
Yeah.
caption.
It's, the transcription turns on automatically, so just gonna leave it.
But that's the first big public thing I went to in Corvallis, you know what I mean? I thought, I feel like I'm at a 1950s cocktail party, like in upstate New York, you know what I mean? Because like, like it was not rural, it was not western, you know what I'm saying? Like it had this different feel to it.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I.
When did you move here, Sarah?
2007.
Okay. So a minute ago, yeah.
That's right there.
And what brought you to this area?
We bought a little farm. My ex-husband and I bought a little farm on Botkin. And I had a goat dairy there,
Oh, cool.
and I was much healthier then, and more, I was spry and,
For sure.
yeah, a big old garden.
You-
Great, thank you, and a great big, orchard, I was like, yeah, we were doing we were eating mostly I wasn't grinding flour or anything, you know what I mean? I wasn't out of my mind.
Yeah. Still reasonable.
Right. And so we did that until, we divorced in 15,
Uh-huh.
and Cash and I moved, bought a little trailer here in town that's on an acre.
Uh-huh.
The largest lot, I think, in the little village, I assume,
Oh,
but it just all goes up the side of that ridge over there.
yeah.
And we moved over here, and Cash had already gone to kindergarten here. And so then he started first grade here. It's just been perfect.
Yeah.
He's all been able to walk to school, and
That's.
he was super shy little country boy. You know how country boys can be, where they're just like,
Sure.
why are you talking to me? So Alsea school has been perfect for him to find his,
Yeah. What's the enrollment of like a grade level?
so sometimes it's so small that we combine the grades, but usually there's around 20 per grade.
Uh-huh.
The high school enrollment is way down this year. I'm worried about it. Hopefully we'll build back up again now
Yeah.
that things have settled down a little bit.
Was that so COVID related, you thinking?
Well, during COVID, we were crammed with kids because we were open.
Oh,
But
interesting.
then the thing happened with the masks, and then we had an interim super, and he had a huge riff, and so the community has not recovered from the rifts, like people are. We're getting, I feel like we're starting to get past it, but
I didn't, yeah, I didn't.
no,
really know much
he
about
he let go of all the aides. He just like 15 people lost their jobs.
that. Sounds familiar.
And we went from having one admin when I started working there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And when he was there, we had 7 people who were superintendents or principals or whatever, right? I was like, one person used to do all this. And then we had all the aides, see, for the kids. Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We
Oh,
got super
so-
top heavy and they
I
let
see.
go of all the
Swapped
people who were in
around.
direct contact with the kids.
Hmm.
It was the wrong
Yeah,
thing to do, you know, it's like, it wasn't good for the community, it wasn't good for the kids.
yeah,
And like I said, now, you know, people pulled their kids and they haven't necessarily come back.
gotcha.
But there are folks that live out this way, out in Lobster and stuff, that the kids are already 45 minutes on the bus before they even get here.
Gotcha.
So it really is important that the school is there, although I guess
Yeah.
there's online now, right? I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
remember that, but it's not the same.
I feel like I'm personally very out of touch with that, just because I don't have kids in school age, you know, so it's just kind of, just hasn't been on my radar really in the same way.
I know what you mean. You will, and it'll be different by then, because everything's changing.
Everything
It's
changes all the
changing
time.
so fast.
It's the only thing that's the only thing that's constant, is that it's
Yeah.
always changing.
Yeah, and Cash is getting ready to start college, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you to do with your, oh, what you should go into.
Right?
Something that a robot can't do,
Does that help? Yeah.
right? Yeah, did that help? Does it answer your question, honey?
I have a question for you, Sarah.
Mhm.
Do you typically join the Zoom meeting from your laptop? And if you do, are you able to let people in? Like if they,
No.
okay, so we have to.
Yeah.
let them in, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't have most
Okay,
capabilities.
so that might be
That's
tricky.
part of what we had to fight our way through, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
do people tend to join kind of like on time or they kind of lag,
They pretty much,
join on time?
generally, they're usually trying to sign in right before,
Okay.
and then if they can't get in, they always just say, there's like Sarah, you know?
Okay. Yeah, 'cause
Right.
my only concern is once
Yeah.
I screen share for the group here with that, I won't be able to see, actually,
I gotcha.
that's kind of,
Well, that's why I'm gonna send this out, and then they'll know, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
They'll know what's going on, if they even. Okay, let's see. One, two, three. Well, what brought you to come down to Benton County, John, and leave your?
Oh, I've bounced around a little bit. When I first came here, I worked for the cities of Dallas, Independence, and Monmouth. At
Uh-huh.
the same time, they got a grant to hire a guy, and I was the guy for 2
Uh-huh.
years to work on downtown redevelopment. So all the historic preservation work that's been done in those 3 cities, and the fancy streetlights and widening the sidewalks. and
Yeah, it's also
facade.
charming.
So I didn't actually build it out, but I did a lot of the planning work on that. And then 2 years turned into 3.
Right?
And then after 3 years, I went to work for Dallas full time, but still got contracted out to Independence and Monmouth. I did that for
Oh.
8 more years.
Um,
And then I went into business for myself for a few years.
oh,
Yeah, my wife and I are micro entrepreneurs. Now, we
okay.
have a wine business, a wine industry related business. We focus on, imported. So Italy, France, Spain, filling a niche that
That's fun.
isn't here, yeah, because, you know, it's not Oregon.
Well, not very, not very.
It's not Oregon Pinot Noir, it's not California, it's not
You're
Washington.
importing.
Yeah, so we do importing, and we don't have a shop anymore, but we have a club, and we mostly service restaurants. Restaurants will get a hold of us and be like, people are asking for Italian wine or French wine, and we, not only do we not have it, we don't even know what to get. So we do a lot of education and training of staff. And I worked for the Department of State Lands as a land use planner for nearly 6 years. And then decided to get out of state and went through the whole COVID thing while working for the state. Which was tough. And
Yes,
and then I decided to get back into local stuff, and I worked at the city of McMinnville for a while. And then I came to Benton County. So,
interesting.
yeah.
So you've done a lot of different things.
yeah, but primarily I've been a land use planner, planning and zoning, economic development specialist. Pretty much my whole career.
Gotcha. And did you get your education in that?
I have an education in communications and English.
Interesting, okay.
So, yeah,
I'm a humanities person too.
yeah, well, you know,
I have a degree,
It would-
I literally have a degree in underwater basket weaving. I literally. do.
yeah, I kind of do too.
Yeah.
Mine is, speech and communications, like I got into broadcasting right when. Like all the radio stations went automated, so
Oh, right, yeah.
exactly the
Yeah,
time.
It's like I'm literally behind the
A
times.
radio
right?
station used to employ 20 to 30 people, and then all of a sudden it was 3 or 4.
Right,
So, yeah, I've done a lot of different stuff. In a different world, I probably would have been a teacher and a coach, but I was so sick of school by the time. If
uh-huh.
college took 5 years instead of 4, I probably would have
Well,
never.
and I'll tell you what I think about community, the kind of community work you're doing, it's all about the kids. You just don't get the fun hanging out with the kids.
Yeah.
Cause you're always thinking, well, what about the kids? What about 20 years from now? What about 30
Yeah,
years from now?
yeah.
What about 100 years from now? It's literally about your descendants. It's interesting, cause I'm not at the school anymore because of my health and.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this cause I love the kids.
That's it. I'm a people person. That's why the pandemic was so,
Yeah, you
Hard.
just were so lonely.
oh my gosh, it just going crazy. But even, when I worked for state lands, I did a lot of work in Central Oregon, in Deschutes County and Crook County and I was over there doing community meetings because the state owns a lot of land over there. And as the communities grow, the state wants to divest in lands that are adjacent to urban areas. So I was involved in selling big chunks of land from the state to the private sector near Bend and near Red. Did a lot of community.
From down here.
Well, my office was in Salem, but I would go over there for at least a few days, at least a couple times a month.
Okay.
So that was cool.
It's interesting how Prineville has reborn as a community.
yeah.
I'm in a wonderful group from the Rural Development Initiative has put together called
Sure.
Women in Rural Leadership.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I needed a group, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't, and then I'm in this group and it's just.
Yeah.
Transforming my whole, hey there, this
Howdy.
is Deb Olson.
Looks
This
like you
is
already.
Shannon Bush. I know
Hi.
you did all your work
Nice
for
to
you,
meet you.
Deb.
You're all set up already.
This is John Swanson.
Hi,
How you doing?
good.
You're usually on this?
Well, sometimes I'm here. I wasn't here last time, but
Well, you're lucky.
Last
You
week,
didn't have
I
to.
was at the meeting, Deb, and I was like, something's really different.
I
about the
know.
meeting." It was funny, and it wasn't until the end that I realized it was that you weren't here. You know what I mean? Yeah. 'Cause you're
oh, I
always-
tried to be, and I was gonna be like an hour late.
Yeah, it was just
and-
too much.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
One of those days,
Well,
one thing
you-
after Monday. We shouldn't have it on Monday. Sometimes you have
First
one of
Monday of
those
the month
Mondays.
too, right?
Fair.
Yes,
Yeah.
beginning of the month and the beginning of the week. That's interesting, but one of the women there, she was involved in that process and, hey Naomi. So it's been so interesting to talk to her.
Hi.
Hi, this is John Swanson, this is Shannon Bush, Naomi Shadwood.
Can I do that?
Also with, Alsea Community Action Collaborative
Or
and
would you
Paula
like-
Deloria. And everybody, if people can please sign in because
Yeah,
actually we
yeah,
need a legal
I'm
record.
already not doing my job. Sign in. You're
Thank you,
the best.
Sarah.
You're all
Is
right,
this a
right,
good
yeah.
spot for this, Sarah?
What's
Is
that?
there a spot they usually like?
Oh, that's not even, where is that map? We lost track. That's not the one I was thinking of, but it's okay. It's gotta be somewhere.
Are you talking about the real pretty
How you
one?
doing? Not too much, how are
The
you
real
doing?
pretty one with
Oh,
all
that
the
house
houses?
coming along.
It was up here.
Still coming.
It's the same on the
I
outside.
thought it was
just
too, but I
didn't
can't
do
find
all the
it.
work on the inside.
Maybe
Yeah,
take a look,
yeah.
if you see it, you know what I mean?
No, it's going, we got.
Does it matter about a board like
It's
that?
just like that.
One of these days.
But it's good to have
I'll
this
try
too,
whatever.
Naomi, thanks for bringing it.
Well, I know, but
I
done.
don't see it.
I don't see it at all.
Yeah.
And I looked in those boxes that you just had your hand on, so I don't know.
Just pack the vanity into the bathroom, so get that put in and it'll be almost there.
Oh, man, I can't even remember who I am.
That's all right, we remember who you are.
Gotta hurry and get done, it's gonna be summertime, I'm gonna be busy, too busy to work my own house.
Oh, you got lots of stuff going.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a busy year,
Well, that can be a good thing.
it's already busy when we get the dry days. so.
Yeah.
I was wondering, cause I have daffodils. I was thinking it must be, and the frogs have been singing,
Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you.
How the heck are you?
good, how are you doing?
Okay.
Just, you're using.
Same busy as ever?
You don't wanna use that magic marker.
Yeah.
Oh, it's real, it's
How's
on
the
Facebook, that's what was happening.
Collaborative coming along.
Well,
It wasn't
we
even-
started on our home. Doing our stuff and,
Yeah.
I put together a couple of big grants to hopefully to get some things started. We've been holding our fingers crossed with, Bomberg because he's putting $600,000 into their bills to.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna give you a few sticky notes and a marker there.
Yeah. I don't know if my boss ever got a hold of Sarah or not, yeah.
I was gonna talk to you about it, and I'll go, would it be okay for me to just go ahead and reach out to?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can call it, I think I emailed you his office number.
Yeah, you
I'm
did,
John Swan.
I just hesitated to do it without asking you
Yeah,
first.
and
Yeah,
you
I
person.
didn't give you his cell number.
There you go.
Do that to him.
Okay.
This is the sign up list for the comprehensive plan presentation. It's important for us to,
Oh, so it's
Track.
different than our meeting?
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry to be late. Work gets in the way of.
Janet, you're late.
You're not late, you're
You're
good. I expect you to be here.
But look what happened when you were here. John said all the
I know,
time.
there's a reason.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, you already gave me. Oh, I'll tell you what, why don't you take yours and pass it around? What's next? Yeah.
That's it. Make your rice.
No, they will be comfortable.
It's been a wild and crazy day.
Has it?
I'm lying a little bit.
Go ahead and whine. Do it. A couple minutes and like, right, oh,
Here's the line.
right?
Right, I got agendas and copies of minutes. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Lots of them. Probably more than we need.
You tear all that.
Okay, you're good at that. You also oftentimes, you oftentimes help me because you kick me.
Yeah,
There's somebody-
yeah, so just let me know when you're ready for us to do our piece here. And
Yeah,
we've got the.
Yeah, I said, shut up.
Yeah.
Right.
You sure?
Take care.
Okay.
Everybody does.
I'll be prepared for that. Okay.
Busy, huh? Thank you.
That's just the way it is.
It's unorganized.
Is that, no, Shannon is.
Okay, and you're.
I'm helping. Yes, I'm in the community development department. I'm a planner and the code compliance officer for Benton County.
Okay,
I'm fairly new to there.
so how do you relate to Chris?
Chris,
Yes, I did.
No, Chris.
Well, I'm just.
Am I saying the wrong name?
Pedro?
My bad.
Who's the community development coordinator over there?
More than anybody else.
Same time. They came and did the presentation. Yeah.
oh, Christopher, yeah. he works for the city and works for us just part-time.
We don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He's
I hope so.
I mean, I've heard, well, I've
Yeah,
heard,
he's
I've heard,
coming.
well, I've
Had
had
a case
people-
to bring up, right?
Oh, no, I don't know.
Go-
yeah, we won't, no,
I
okay.
didn't know
It's okay if we
Justin's
don't.
coming back in or not.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's gonna work.
Are you in?
Next, yeah.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just-
yeah,
Yeah.
we got it figured out. Oh, is Tim trying to come by Zoom too?
I hope.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
that one time you just.
Thank you for what you do.
Well,
I just really-
Yeah.
Somebody's got it.
yeah.
I'll send this, I'll send this to him
I'll be right back.
Okay, good, good.
in a row, I think, too. Yeah,
Whatever.
just tell him he has to come, Janet.
I have to remember to tell him.
Maybe we need to tell Carol, but I hate to do that.
And I just started enrollment here.
Yeah, that would-
Started in first of November. So.
She already has to take care of every
So,
other single
Just
thing
started
in
my
town,
fifth
right?
month on the job.
You know what I mean?
She was helping me this morning.
Uh-huh.
So when.
Must be
Mayor,
recording
Ray
everything.
talking to you.
Are you on that?
It is, it's,
I am,
it's
but
all-
pregnancy
yeah, we were
does
talking about all
weird
kinds of
things,
stuff.
so-
gosh, maybe we should
Oh,
stop, you know,
next month.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm 8 months and 2 days from now. Hey, Patrick. So, Patrick's here. Yeah, it kind of just hit me today. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm.
Yeah, it's,
I'm stretched
you know
out.
what, that-
So then you're gonna
that-
be gone for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
yeah,
I
it-
hope, fortunately and unfortunately.
Well, I would want to miss that time for nothing.
Yeah.
that 8 month jumps out at you, and you realize, oh my God, I'm about to have a baby.
Right, yeah, that's definitely started happening. A lot of babies.
Bam, there you are.
First one.
Thank you.
No, I was in line at Safeway. And the
And
teller,
when you come down to work with us, I don't know if it'll be with me, but that's who I am.
I
Okay.
don't know when I think I was doing, he told her, she was like, you're not big already.
You're like, oh god.
No, I didn't want to, didn't take a good
See,
look.
that's actually. I know. That's why when I was like hearing people at my TikTok part, I was like.
Well, I saw him,
Fire.
I saw him last week, and I totally spaced it, and he hasn't been down. much.
No, you're fine. It was, you know what I mean. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
No, I talked to him about it, he was willing to help or give advice, or he didn't, and I didn't really know exactly what you guys needed, so he was,
Just thinking of somebody who's like
yeah.
willing to, you know what I mean, like we actually need somebody to be available if you need somebody. who
Yeah.
actually needs that.
And that's kind of what I told him, I
Yeah.
said, I said, I don't know, but
Yeah,
I know they'd appreciate it, so. And he's
I don't know. if you-
starting to slow down a little bit.
is he trying to retire?
Well, no, he's just
Oh,
trying
he's
not
just
to work
busy.
6 days, 7 days a week.
I'll give you Amanda.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Um,
Oh, that.
Yeah, that kind of retire. Yeah, now he goes from taking a 2-day weekend a month to 3-day weekend a month or something like that. He can be a pretty busy
He's
guy.
busy, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Does he like being that busy? Some people do.
he loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah, he's 70-something years old, I think.
That's for you?
Hey,
We're
Jim.
gonna be right.
Go, I mean, just, he loves it. I don't know, it's looking younger and younger every year.
Things that people on that table over
Oh.
there. They're not of vital importance, but they might. be.
How, Tim, how you doing?
Good to see you.
And take, I'm gonna take this one too. so then I can take
I just
that.
asked her.
It's the same as one other
How
thing you have.
Oh,
And you guys, if you want a table, you know, you can have a table, right? I mean, you've got. Well, this is what the committee is, yeah, and then the mic right there.
That's around the base.
Yeah. Can I ask you to sign in over here? Thank you.
Yeah, we got two
Keep track
different
of
signing
those
sheets.
that we
We might-
did.
oh,
Yeah,
we
we
have
do
signing
sign
sheets.
All right,
Sorry for the confusion.
I should listen up and do it. I hope.
Where's the?
no, we're just brilliant multitaskers, right?
Handouts, and then there's the.
How you doing?
Good, you?
All right.
Good.
Ash is gonna be a counselor at outdoor school.
Oh, good.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
That'll be great, don't you think?
Oh, wearing down. It's time.
Also, he is an introvert, he does have to have, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Always putting himself up.
right. Well,
Oh my
he
gosh.
came from, he helped Emily and moved. Man, and moved up house. He actually came in and hired them.
Oh,
You
yeah?
know, like he came in and he was just like, I know you're doing it.
Later this week, I'm meeting with Melissa Aarons, who is
Yeah.
helping CAC.
I haven't seen you guys. See any of it.
All school keeping you busy?
So they set up a crack.
Did they feed that?
What's that?
No.
I think
I went through 25 years.
So
A lot of questions, I could hardly have only five if you don't know what they are.
That's kind of, I'm out too, I'm gonna be out.
Yeah, or did.
24.
Oh, yeah. I did during
I'm gonna get
the
my stuff.
But there was like.
plumbing, HVAC, electrical, like.
Mom and dad.
I
went
don't
there.
think you
Yeah,
can.
that's what I'm saying.
The information, nobody helped.
Now it's a little like.
We were thinking of trying to hide out in that.
Yeah, I think most. Acts like that. Most of it. And I'm doing some, I mean, I'm still.
Purple thing with flames on it.
They're going through that process.
Yeah.
I know I was, I could get
So,
stuck with.
I think-
Spread out
I think
because
you-
of plan.
I can plug it. It's makes like hot, you know,
So you
plug
don't feel like,
ground
you
wire,
know, anything.
light switch.
Janet, does everybody sign?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
everybody needs to sign on this one, guys, too. That's coming around.
This one, yeah. Oh,
Never your parent mode.
yeah,
He's on a spring break.
fun.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, Randy. We have two things to sign in on because we're doing two meetings over there and then there's a sheet running around the room.
Okay.
This is Randy Hart. This is Shannon Bush and John Swanson. You might know Randy because he does emergency preparedness stuff for us in town.
I probably should,
You've
but I
probably
don't
seen it,
yet.
you've probably been in meetings together.
Maybe this one.
Yeah, they need to sign that one too.
Yeah.
You need an exercise.
I have pens, if you guys need pens.
Hi.
Hi, Keita. We're good, how are you?
Okay,
You're our librarian,
well, yes,
you're our book fairy.
yes, yes. Okay.
That's right, I'm reading dirt.
Oh, good.
You're gonna convert us now.
I've read two of them so far.
Sarah, I haven't seen anybody join yet online.
Okay. I was just gonna go check, well, then maybe they won't, you know, but I also just,
I was gonna send it to Mimi.
It's the same Zoom.
I just did,
Oh,
but I can do it again.
Did you send it to my Steve?
I'm gonna do it again, cause I just sent it and I'm not hearing back from them, so.
Thank you very much.
You know, and email's not instantaneous.
I think that's overdue. I wanted to return one.
Okay, this one's the.
We set up a few more chairs and we're running out of space.
This, yeah, we can. Whatever you think's best.
Add more tape, whatever.
Some people do sometimes trickle in because they are on their way home from work. Right, they're not like Tim. and Deb get to work
Thank
and
you.
live out here. Right?
Yeah,
We're blessed.
yeah.
You are.
So.
I haven't got to go to the beach today.
You got to go to the beach?
Well, I just went to Walmart. I can see the beach.
I'm right by my daughter's house. there.
Yeah, yeah.
Dang, I'm
I
envious.
spent most of my.
I almost stopped at the market.
It's not a.
Gotta go to Lobster and take Grand Ole Fire.
Oh.
I gotta go all over today.
Holy mackerel.
You know, the drive I love is from Sweats up to Nepo, where that Oregon Highway.
Bam.
Whatever one, it's Nepo or whatever.
Oh, here you go. Yeah, yeah.
I've traveled all over the United States on back roads, that's what my parents did.
Yeah.
Leaving the
my childhood doing that. That road is the most beautiful little back roads. You know, it's not like going to the Sun Highway or whatever. So, the scenery that blows your mind, just like the little daughter, her mother, sweet little back road, you know, kind of vibe.
Manager today.
Okay, I just sent a second one to Mimi and
Trying to.
Misty, we'll see. That worked. Yes. She said. Yeah, you know, she went.
No, just because it's fine, because I'm just.
I gotta get signed up. So I will come to see. All right.
Small.
Oh, yes. I went up there.
I can appreciate what people are.
Yeah. So.
I'm really sensitive to that. Sensitive. I can't see how.
I know, right? Right.
Forward.
Oh, I did. Little dog responded to
My job. Engineering background and civil background. I've been planning this.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Everybody.
Sorry.
They're trying to pass a law.
Hi, Misty. Sorry, did you hear us okay?
I wrote my thing.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you. We haven't gotten started yet, so just hang tight.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not just.
We've got Misty on, Jimmy, and then I think Mimi was the good. I know. What's that?
I know.
Fair enough.
I tried, but.
We like recording it so she can catch up kind of.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
I mean.
It's just an automatic transcription. Yeah. I'm not honestly sure how to turn it off, so it doesn't show up there, but then you can just ignore it. Once I screen share it. It's already going, so it's gonna probably be on all videos.
Are we ready to call it to order here? So sorry. No worries. Okay, call to order. We need the roll call. Last time we had everybody say their name. Do we just need to do advisory committee members say their name or everybody that's here?
For your CAC meeting, just committee members, but I would love to know who else is in the room.
All right, let's do that. We start with Tim and
Okay,
Sarah and then, all right, okay.
Tim Pearson, I'm a retired school teacher. I still work a little bit half-time at the school, and I'm on the CAC committee.
Zeb Olson, I'm on the CAC committee, local farm owner, business owner.
I'm Sarah Cash, and I am a planning commissioner for Benton County. And so I'm not a member of the CAC committee, but I do work with them closely. And I am the coordinator for Alsea Community Action Collaborative, working with Naomi as a volunteer nonprofit, to try to help with, help get things, just help. There's so many things we can get done in Alsea, so.
Paul, you want to go next?
Oh, Paula Deloria, just helping. I live in the Alsea area.
I'm Naomi Shadrick, and I've been here for 30-some years. And I work with community, different nonprofits in North. I'm retired. I'm a grant writer. She's our money. Very important.
Peter Tom. Oh,
Speak up so it gets recorded.
Peter Tom, I've been living in two places. My, where my great husband grew up on Hayden Road and then and I'm very involved in land use issues.
I'm Denise Crouch. Moved here in July. And I'm just attended the meeting last month. I'm very much interested in getting involved in the community. And I've loved Alsea for a long time, so things to go out here and meet people and yeah, I just want to be involved where I can, kind of seeking where it is right now, so.
I'm Soren Brown. I grew up out here and then moved away for a while and moved back again about 7 years ago to raise my family here.
I'm Randy Hart, and I was able to build my house just before the land that I had was cut off. I submitted the plans the day before. Yeah. And so I've been here since '84. I was born and raised in Dallas. So, and I've been interested in emergency preparedness, been involved in that out there the last 10 or so years.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Patrick Wingard. I am your friendly Department of Land Conservation Development field rep. I'm coming to you tonight from my Springfield home. Really happy to be here. One of my primary goals of being here is to understand, to actively listen to what your priorities are, what your community values are, and then help you adhere those to current state statutes or rules, or work with you to change through the Benton County Code and Plan the rules so that they favor the economic development, the housing, and other aspirations that you all have here. I appreciate you letting me be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Swanson. I am a land use planner at the Benton County Community Development Department. I am here assisting Shannon this evening, and I am currently functioning as the code compliance officer for Benton County. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Janet, excuse me, Hendricks, I'm on the CAC. I've been here since '86. Yeah, '85, sorry, who cares? A while, and I'm the chairman on the CAC. I'm Scotty Jones. I have Leaping Lamb Farm just up the road, so I raise sheep for meat and I host guests on my farm. I'm a member of CAC as an alternative board member. Well, tonight you're on. You're a voting member tonight. Way back in the day when I first came in 2003, I joined ACE, so I was an ACE board member. And I also helped with the scenic byway.
My name is Shannon Bush. I'm a program coordinator at Benton County's Community Development Department. I'm also the project manager for the comprehensive plan update, which we are calling Benton Believes. You'll hear more about it tonight. I know you all have been interested to hear more about the project, so I'm excited to finally be here and meet you all and talk you through a little bit tonight.
Okay, all right, now we. Flag salute. Retrieve that flag. Just stand there and hold it like.
Color guard.
Yeah, the Boy Scout.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. We have public comments tonight before we start the presentation. Nobody with an axe to grind, okay.
Gotta be a first.
That's all I'm starting with. All right. Good to go. Dan's going.
Take it away?
On, but you take it away.
All right, we are still missing one, but I guess we will just get started.
Did you get Misty?
Misty is on.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
and
Mimi,
Misty
she is
confirmed.
sick, so maybe, oh, she's in, I can't get in. Okay, I'm gonna try to send, I'll send it to her.
Okay.
Okay.
Mimi's still trying to get on?
Yeah, she. is.
Okay. I don't want to screen share and get going quite yet because I won't be able to see when she.
Okay, let me give it one more try there.
Bear with us, folks, with the tech here.
I'm glad she's on.
She sounded much better yesterday than she did last week.
Hey, everybody, this is Misty. Sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but I'm so glad I can join via Zoom. So thank you all for being there.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.
I missed you. I'm glad you made it.
Thank you. Me too. I love this modern technology where we can connect.
Wild.
Hey, Misty, could you confirm, I'm gonna screen share here real quick.
Sure.
Just let me know that you're seeing it before we kind of get started if Mimi's able to join. Do you see that?
Yeah, the Benton Believes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes, I
great.
can.
Awesome.
Yeah, you could look at the minutes while we try to browse the meeting.
Here you go. That's a good idea.
I did have something, I think that some comments are ascribed to me in the next steps and up above that. I don't believe it was me, and I'm not sure who it was. The Oregon Property Owners Association info to other committee members. And to send OSU succession plan for farms to committee members. I think number 7 was Mimi, and I'm not sure what number 6 was. It might be you, Janet, because I don't actually know what that is.
Oh, I found it.
Okay, but that should be you,
Yeah.
number 6. Okay, and then I think number 7 is Mimi.
Yeah, it is me.
And it says, you guys want, they're trying to get me knocked off. It says cash expressed a desire to increase tax base for the community. If that is what I communicated, that is not what I meant to say. Oh, so I'm not sure how to
In
fix
a
that.
roundabout way as building an economy that creates a. tax base.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't remember saying anything about taxes, so I wonder if it was somebody else.
I remember we visited
We
about
did talk about it. Yeah, we definitely
pulling
did.
our own weight tax base wise and
Right,
we had more houses.
how that would go
more
over like
economy
a,
than
that
we
would
would
probably
have.
go over like a lead balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that that should be me. I don't know who said it. I protest. What did I say?
Yeah, my name is still misspelled.
Is it?
Yeah.
In the, where is it,
Yeah, it's
Keita?
not- My last name is not in Valley. It's just like a first name.
It's just TOM.
Mhm.
What were you last time? You had a
Oh,
whole.
it's Peter Dunn. Okay. That was the first, I think.
Well, we're making progress.
Yeah.
That was me on.
Oh,
She's not joined, you know, might wanna. Look at your finish with your, meeting minutes, just let me know. Can go ahead and-
Somebody moves to.
I'll move to approve with the changes to. Next steps, number 6 and 7 for the names and. For primer on village commercial, change that cash. did not express.
Sir, cash does not increase your taxes. Be clear about that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
You did, okay.
I'll
Any
second.
other discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, they're approved. Now it's your turn.
Thank you.
With Mimi on ya.
She's not on, she hasn't joined. So I think in the interest of time, it's okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get started, okay. Misty, one last confirmation, can you just let me know that you saw that slide advance on your screen share?
Misty.
Right.
I'm gonna assume.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Sorry, I'm multitasking.
Okay, so
Loud and
first of
clear.
all, we already did welcome and introduction, so that's fantastic. Again, my name is Shannon Bush. I'm the project manager for the comprehensive plan update. I want to start off by saying I know several of you here on the CAC have been talking about this project for a little while now, which is great. Alsea is like really ahead of the game for the rest of the county, because of the activity of your CAC, which is a fantastic start. I want you to be assured that we haven't lost the sort of commentary and discussion that you all have had so far. But we wanted to be sure to bring the same sort of activity to you and the same dialogue, the same project introduction that we're bringing to the rest of the county. So as not to miss Alsea, you know, we value your opinion, your thoughts. We want it to be, you know, kind of equitable, sharing of information as we kind of embark on this journey together for the next couple of years, actually. So this is our agenda for the evening. Housekeeping, you all know this space better than I do, but you know, bathrooms are out here to the side. I think there's also a water fountain if you're in need. I do just want to say we'll have opportunity for question and answer at the end. So if possible, I'll try to get through the kind of my spiel first, and then we'll have ample time to answer questions. And then we're gonna finish up the evening by kind of doing this little activity over here that you all got post-it notes. And I'll explain it, so worry not. So that's where we, kind of what our night ahead looks like. So, first off here, what is a comprehensive plan? We are dubbing this project the Benton Believes Project, kind of a little marketing tool, just to hopefully help it stick in the memory, right? But we still need to know what it is. So a community comprehensive plan, it's a long-range plan for the future of growth and development in the county. We are aiming to make sure that we meet the future needs of residents, well, the needs both today and in the future going forward. It typically contains goals, policies, data, so like existing conditions, data pulled from typically American Community Survey and Census, to help people understand kind of where are we at, what's happened, trending kind of projections. And often a series of maps that help us understand our context, right? It establishes, most importantly, the community's vision going forward, and policies for future growth. That is typically implemented with the development code. So you all have probably heard of Benton County's development code. That's kind of what we're talking about in terms of the comprehensive plan, forming the vision, the development code helps in implementing that vision. So the purpose here is to provide guidance to policymakers, decision makers, elected officials, our planning commission such as Sarah, planners and the public in general. So I think everyone else is pretty aware of this, but Oregon has statewide land use planning goals, 19 total, 15 of them are relevant here in Benton County. This is just a listing of those relevant statewide planning goals that we will kind of talk generally about throughout the course of this project. So why are we here tonight? It's a funny little picture here of Steve Jobs. The introduction of the iPhone happened in 2007. That was when the first generation iPhone came out. So as reference, that is also when Benton County's comprehensive plan was adopted. So the data informing it was a couple years prior to that. The idea that we're getting at here is that a lot has changed in that period of time. So it's kind of one of those, it's time, right? To look back at this, you know, imagine you're still using the first generation iPhone, challenges that you would have with that possibly. So the idea here is what has changed since that last update about 20 years ago. We need to take a look again and kind of get things squared away with where we're at today and where we want to move going forward. So Patrick is here this evening representing DLCD because we received project funding to do this through DLCD to create what's called a work program. That's one of the kind of primary pieces or components of this whole project is developing a work program. It tells us what we have to focus in on, the priorities of the community. So that's really why you all are here tonight, is to help us identify those priorities. So why does the comprehensive plan matter? It's kind of what we talked about a little bit before. It informs development code. But just, you know, a couple of specific things. Planning for growth is what a comprehensive plan helps us accomplish. Where is growth gonna happen? How much? What kind of growth where? Resource allocation, so guides the use of public resources in the budget and infrastructure to support it. Regulatory guidance, and of course, community input like we are doing here and will continue to do throughout the course of the project.
Sounds
So,
like there's at least one person in the waiting room.
okay,
It's Joni. It would be great to have her here.
okay, bear with me folks for 1 second, we're gonna roll out of this so I can add somebody.
Thank you for doing this, Shannon,
Yeah. Just hope my tech skills hold up here.
right?
All right, hey there, Joni, do you hear us okay? I can talk. Hey, Joni, do you hear us okay?
I'll text her.
Okay, I'm gonna assume since Misty does that, she should be able to hear us. Okay, we're gonna go back to presentation mode here,
She's good.
screen share.
I like how we're having a joint meeting. We have a joint meeting.
Okay, Joni, we were a couple slides into the presentation here. I hope that this is working out again, with the screen share, okay? So developing a work program. In Oregon's land use planning system, we have a couple of different options for the way that we can go about updating a comprehensive plan. One of those methods is called voluntary periodic review. I'm kind of just gonna throw some alphabet soup at you a little bit tonight, but just to share information here. Voluntary periodic review is the method that the county chose because it's a little bit more comprehensive, all encompassing versus doing individual, what's called a PAPA, plan amendment.
Post acknowledgement.
Thank you. Post acknowledgement plan amendment, which would have been a little bit more tedious. So we're doing the VPR method. And we've received grant funding from DLC to do it, as we talked about earlier. One thing that we have to do in embarking in that sort of method is define the work program. That's, of course, talking about what the comprehensive plan is going to focus on. We'll come up with a detailed list of tasks necessary to accomplish that work program and ensure that we are bringing information that the public can understand to help make informed choices. So in order to do that, we've selected a kind of approach to our comprehensive planning called scenario planning. So I know throwing a lot of words at you, scenario planning, how does that fit into it? Oh, I lost my screen share now.
No, we like the dog.
Okay, so wanted to give you a little timeline here first. We are here in that kind of early phase 1 of exploration, if you will. So in here tonight to introduce the project, identify community priorities. That's what we'll be doing throughout all of Benton County this month, throughout the month of March. In order to define that work program or design the work program. What we'll be doing later through additional funding, we hope, either through DLCD and or Benton County, is phase 2 and 3. That is the scenario modeling. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it tonight. And the, of course, actual planning work and implementation. So that would be approximately July that would be starting that, we hope. So what is scenario planning? It's a modeling tool. First and foremost, it's a modeling tool. So it's used to explore future outcomes or possibilities of outcomes based on different assumptions and decisions. It focuses on identifying and analyzing potential trade-offs. So trade-offs like, if we choose this scenario, how is that going to impact things numerically, sort of a quantitative and qualitative analysis. It helps communities anticipate challenges and opportunities that might be coming their way and to assess them. It increases the understanding of long-term impacts of decisions because it helps you to visualize things a little bit better than kind of the abstract, just talking about them kind of generally. It enables additional public participation by illustrating future choices and those trade-offs. And just want to emphasize that it's applicable to urban and rural contexts, so it works well kind of no matter what type of geographical context that we are in. So we have to define indicators. These are just things of letting you kind of know what happens behind the scenes. Those typically end up being economic indicators, environmental indicators, social indicators, infrastructure, and of course, community preferences have to inform all of that. So that's kind of what the scenario planning process will look like in phase 2. This is to give you a sense of kind of how that works, how we go about assessing those trade-offs and talking about them and helping to illustrate them for the public. And I think potentially most importantly, how do we do the public participation in that scenario planning process? Meetings like this, of course, we'll probably have several. Interactive tools that can be usually online. So that enables just additional participation by folks who can't attend the meetings tonight or this type of public meeting. Feedback loops, so that's kind of the using our website to share what we heard, you know, let us know, did we get this right? What did we miss? And we can continue to kind of amend and iterate throughout the process. And the ideal kind of outcome there is informed decision-making by the public and the county by doing that sort of multiple iteration of public participation. Okay. Next steps in Q&A. So project next steps, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but we're in phase 1 right now. So again, this is the exploratory kind of just project introduction. I know that several folks here at the CAC have already heard about this project. My intent tonight was for anybody who's not at the CNC or part of the CAC to be introduced to the comprehensive plan project for just awareness. We are in phase 1. It started last year. It's going to go through now, March 2025 through about end of June 2025. Our whole purpose in this last couple of months here is this data collection and analysis about public input. Coming up next in about July, so this coincides with budget cycle, of course, right? It's phase 2. So we'll be working on that work program, kind of how do we transition that work program that's defined by public priorities that we're identifying now into the scenarios so that we can create that modeling tool. And then of course, public engagement throughout the kind of whole process, and then we write the plan. So the last part I'm going to leave you with before we do Q&A is just as of today, I think in the last couple of hours, we have been able to launch a website for this project, bentonbeliefs.com. This is just the kind of homepage of it, so you'll get a sense, you'll know you've arrived at the right place, right? And this little QR code here, you can scan with your phone to access the survey. This is a public survey. It's intended for anybody and everybody who lives in Benton County. So I would appreciate anybody's help here tonight in just spreading the word, sharing it with your network, your friends, your neighbors. The more responses we get, the more valid our sort of outcome is. So that's just a really important piece of that is please help us spread the word. It's invaluable. I'm gonna stop there. I feel like I shared a lot of information on comprehensive planning, the process, the timeline, scenario planning. What kind of questions are coming up for you?
When you get ready to do your work plan,
Yeah,
can we get a copy of it?
absolutely. Yes, yeah. That's a great question. So I think what we'll probably end up doing is on that website, this website, bentonbeliefs.com, is really intended to be our primary way of sharing out and receiving back information from the public. So, you know, if you walk away with nothing else tonight, remember that website. You can go, it's probably really hard to see this, but, see what it says like about the project in that upper kind of left-hand corner of the website. You could go back there to learn, again, kind of the same things I covered tonight about what is a comprehensive plan, what is scenario planning, why are we doing it, that kind of thing. So it's basically intended to serve as an additional resource for people who are not able to attend meetings. So while we will do more public meetings to share out the kind of work program that we define, the kind of second layer is to share all that information on the website consistently.
What avenues do you have for individuals that don't have computers, they don't work on these computers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And really the kind of primary alternatives that we have right now are public meetings, website related content. And then we are also working with our planning commissioners on, and Sarah can speak to this if you'd like. Our planning commissioners are very actively involved in doing what we're calling serving as ambassadors for the county. So it's really fantastic because they're helping us to identify different sort of opportunities for engagement on something like the survey. So Sarah, for example, has already sent me a list of different locations and kind of events, ways that we can help spread the word throughout Alsea about the project, about the survey, kind of importantly. And Sarah's gonna help do things like drop off the survey at a couple of key locations throughout Alsea so that people can pick one up, hard copy if they need, if they're not able to do the online Survey Monkey. So that kind of thing, we're kind of, it varies basically by geographical context, kind of what we're doing, based on how our planning commissioners are helping us to identify what would work best where.
I was thinking I'd put paper surveys at the library and at John Boy's if Katie's willing to do that, and then post that. But if you can help spread the word too, that'd be great, because it's hard to, yeah.
Oh, I think we had one right here.
When you went through the latter slides,
Mhm.
like 13, 15, and 16 are probably the topics that I'm new to the CAC, but it seems like that's where most of our discussions have been on 13, 15, and 16.
I think my
And
numbers.
it went by very quickly. I didn't follow you.
Okay, yeah, I can go more in depth, absolutely. Was it this slide? Because I think my numbers are probably different than yours.
The first one was using scenario planning in small cities and rural areas. That's 13. You don't have it on there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually one that I had, interesting that prints out. I had it hidden, so it wasn't intended to print out for tonight. So that's why you think I went over it fast, because I didn't go over it.
Okay.
I tried to, yeah, I tried to shorten my presentation to not
Was
go.
that strategic because you knew that was our interest area?
No, I'm kind of bummed that is your interest area.
Those three are the hot buttons for us, I think.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
If you know, here, let me just get a hard copy and then I can talk you through it. Yeah, so honestly, my intent was to not bore you in the details of scenario planning, because I felt like I was going to be droning on and on.
That's the details, right?
Okay, well, let's do it. Okay, so slide 13, if you all have a hard copy, we have a lot of hard copies if you want me to pass them out. Anyone need a hard copy?
That's right there.
You don't need them? Okay.
Not gonna get it for you.
Yeah, I was hesitant about going too in depth on scenario planning because it's a phase 2. You know, we don't even actually essentially have funding for it yet, it's a TBD. So, so yeah, essentially, so slide 13, the whole kind of purpose behind this is just to let you know, scenario planning is like, well, I don't know, documented in urban contexts. We heard some kind of concern among some folks earlier, like how does this apply? Will it apply in a more rural or small city context? And the answer is yes, because it's the same sort of concept. You identify indicators, you identify priorities, you assess and measure quantitatively and qualitatively the trade-offs that essentially happen in the different contexts, you know, so it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, I guess I would say, whether you're talking about a large city, a small city, a rural environment, the scenario planning approach is the same.
The dot points under that rural context.
Uh-huh.
Gets into the stuff we're interested in, consideration of agriculture.
Yeah.
Conservation of open space.
Yep.
Managing growth, pressure, and maintaining rural character.
Yep.
Collaborating in surrounding areas with surrounding areas on regional planning issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
Yeah,
trying to
we're
get
gonna-
it out.
We're gonna do an activity tonight that's gonna pull out some of what you're, I
Okay.
think, if that's what you're wanting to talk about, to
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
share that
that's
input,
what
that's the
this-
activity. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do when we kind of engage in this little setup over here.
Okay,
Shannon,
and number 15.
sorry, go ahead, Randy.
Slide 15.
Mhm. Yeah, so again, measuring trade-offs. The idea here is to quantitatively and qualitatively assess for people, to help people measure. So this happens basically by statistical modeling tools, right? So you help people see and understand visually what's gonna happen. So the example here, development versus conservation, you know, where we develop, how much we develop. And potentially something like, if we choose, I'll just use an example here, if if Alsea chooses to develop some X number of acres, and you essentially lose that to conservation or ag and timber, whatever that land use is. It helps you to visualize better kind of what that means for the community. So the way that can be done is typically through what's called a game environment, which feels a little funny, but it's essentially a table setup, you know, so you can kind of see both on like a map, which people are much more accustomed to seeing, kind of what the map, how the map changes. But it can also be done in what's called a game environment, so that people can engage kind of proactively. But these are the pieces that we haven't figured out yet, because we don't know if and how much funding we'll be able to get to secure to do that scenario planning. So it's kind of, it's up in the air to like what extent we'll be able to pull this off and do it on a broad context.
And then on
What was the other one?
16.
Yeah. Yeah, these are essentially, these slides are, this is why I didn't actually want both of these. They're kind of similar. They end up being a little bit redundant.
Okay.
Yeah.
It helps us learn though, because.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely read them.
Yeah.
I was trying to not, I felt like when I looked over this presentation, I was like, gosh, I really went on for too long about scenario planning. That's not really what we're here for tonight. We're here to identify priorities for the work program. So interesting that you are, not interesting, it's great that you are intrigued by it. I'm happy to talk to you about kind of anything more scenario planning after the meeting if you'd like.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
This was included in this.
Yeah.
No, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, just wasn't intended for tonight. It was kind of a, for future purposes, couple of slides. What else? I think I saw a few other questions. Yeah.
I don't know how relevant my question is, but the governor has issued the edict that we need more housing,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering how that plays into this whole thing, and if we just decided we needed more housing and we tried to identify areas to do that.
Yeah.
What would be that process? Is it a planning commission thing, or? And then to the state, or state first, and then, I mean, and how, what's the temperature of our planning commission?
Mm-hmm.
Because in years past, I mean, it wasn't great. So.
Yeah.
What's that process look like?
So there's a
Who's
couple-
at the work table that we're talking
Yeah, a couple interesting questions you have here. I'm actually gonna let Patrick take the first piece of it about the state, you know, kind of Governor Kotek's mission, if you will, or goals. And then I'll take the second part. Does that work, Patrick?
Yeah, sure. So I would offer that this is Patrick Wingard, DLCD. Since 2019, under Governor Brown, and House Bill 2001, 2003, that set in motion clear and objective standards for housing and reconfigure the manner in which cities calculate their buildable lands inventories. Basically, over the next subsequent legislative sessions, infrastructure became a big talking point. We at the department made sure that the governor and our legislators understood that we can develop plans for housing, and bear with me, because this is predominantly inside urban growth boundaries. the focus is predominantly, almost exclusively, but not quite exclusively, but for this group, I just want to be fully transparent. The governor's focus and much of the focus on infrastructure is in cities. Where can the state's investment, where can the public's investment in infrastructure get you the most bang for your buck? And it's in cities. That's where the opportunities lie, but not exclusively. Since 2019, there's legislation that's been passed, for example, that rural communities like Alsea and other rural communities, unincorporated communities, need to adopt housing standards that are clear and objective. That's something that was brought into the conversation. It will be, I think, paramount on counties to engage your legislators and us to ensure that, hey, you know, about 1/6 of Oregonians live outside urban growth boundaries. We want to have a plan. We need to have a plan for housing as well. I will share with you that is a very mixed bag of conversations among interested parties, among our staff. We're partnered with the Building Codes Division, Housing and Community Services. Of course, we work with natural hazards planners and infrastructure focused Business Oregon types and DEQ. This project is really well timed and well aligned to, I think, help lead some of the conversations in the counties outside urban growth boundaries. What can we do to ensure that our housing stock is stable and growing? Does it mean that we should take a look at the village zoning? Are there things that we could do in the village zone, like adding a cottage cluster code, for example? Or are you maxed out in Alsea, for example? There really aren't buildable properties. Does your infrastructure have carrying capacity? And I'm looking at the minutes from last month, and your conversations are right on point with that. And I checked in with my supervisor today, who is an attorney. I think he says he's a recovering attorney because he's the LCD staff now. But I want to make sure I wasn't missing something, because your options are intensify development inside Alsea. That may butt up against your rural character. You know, I don't think anybody here wants to see apartments going up here, nor can the infrastructure necessarily support that. So let's say that your village commercial, your village residential zoning serves you well. Then the next question is, how and where could the community boundary be expanded to? And I've been focused on some of your properties, like the Stout property that has the measure 37, measure 49 claims. And I had some interesting conversations with staff about what does that mean? You know, you've got some, I wouldn't say urban level of development, but something's happened like on the Stout property that's different than what you would see on other properties. Can that be used to leverage maybe additional development? And trust me, last thing I would ever want to do is try to speak for Ms. Stout or the Stout family, but I'm just using that as an example of where this committee, this group can really help to inform next steps. The legislature, the governor, I would offer really focused on housing inside urban growth boundaries, but there's a huge contingent in Eastern Oregon, in the Coast Range here, in Southern Oregon, you know, all up and down the coast saying, hey, we have large unincorporated communities. Sun River is an unincorporated community. Pacific City is an unincorporated community. Nesquin's an unincorporated community. So we've got large unincorporated communities around the state who are looking at this housing legislation saying, hey, you know, some are raising their hand saying, we want to be part of this. And so that's where your engagement, I think, will help bear fruit. And what you all can do, in 2 months ago, I asked you to start thinking about, like, what would the environmental consequences be for Alsea or for the area to add more housing, which some would say would conflict with agricultural operations? You know, what's your sense here? How do you characterize the agricultural operations, the leaping lambs and the other agricultural operations in the area? Could this area support more? And in doing that, how can interested parties, organizations interested in managing growth, predominantly Thousand Friends, how can they be brought into the fold? How can we have those conversations? Because our job is to find that balance, right, between development and conservation. I want to understand what you all prioritize in the Alsea Valley, in the Lobster Valley, because I understand this is not a group just focused on Alsea, but rather the valleys. What could happen in the valleys proximate to Alsea to benefit the local economy? The school district is one. And that's like the most obvious one to me, is like adding more rooftops could increase pupil counts, but it's not a guarantee. But I'll stop there. I've said a lot, but the fact that you are rallying a potential voluntary periodic review, long-range comprehensive planning project at this time, I think is very important for you and other county partners who are watching this, saying, hey, you know, appreciate that there's infrastructure investment in cities, but we have public infrastructure out in the counties as well, and you have both the water and sewer system here. So I think that this, just kind of like Shannon, how you explained the scenario planning, it can be analogous to large city, small city, rural context. I really think that when you get into those conversations, which I know you've been in them for decades here, now is a great time with your comprehensive plan, almost 20 years old, to say, hey, state of Oregon, hey, interested parties, things have changed. And here's how we think we can maximize our opportunities in the construct of those changes.
Can I ask one question? Are we at a disadvantage because we're not incorporated?
Well, it depends on your perspective.
In what sense?
Well, the fact that a lot of this is all happening within urban growth boundaries, that we aren't a well, we are a unified voice, but we're not a thing. And so therefore, we're not a town, so therefore we kind of fall through the cracks.
I think it presents challenges in terms of leadership, kind of who's taking the reins and what direction is that going. Being able to have something like a planning commission to define kind of the direction that if it were an incorporated city, we're going, I think would help having, you know, your branches of government for sure. However, you can still accomplish a lot of those same types of things by just being part of the county. It's slightly less autonomous, I suppose. I think, so Janet, you had also asked a kind of like a part 2 question about, it was kind of how the county planning commission lands on the question of housing, I think it was. Yeah.
I want to know where the authority lies
To build more housing.
for anything that we think is useful for us.
I see. Okay, so, yeah, I guess this kind of goes to the question of being incorporated versus unincorporated. As an unincorporated community, you're kind of under Benton County's jurisdiction. So that means, that goes to our county planning commission and our county commissioners to make decisions for Alsea, essentially. You have a community plan that basically has to be reflected in the county's comprehensive plan. So there's like an integration element that happens between those two sort of planning documents. But public outreach is the reason why we are here for the sake of public outreach to understand what Alsea wants going forward, what the priorities are. And it sounds like housing is a big
That's
discussion
our
item
question.
here. Yeah.
Is our priorities and our wants relevant?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we have one voice on the planning commission.
I think the challenge
And
though,
I pretty much, I don't even have to know any of this. I know what their thoughts are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is the nature
Get
of
tired of sitting at the
local
command.
government, right? Yeah,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to come to consensus, right? We're always trying to balance, kind of like what Patrick was saying earlier, you're balancing interests. I think that is really, my hope, the value of the scenario planning approach is to help people I think housing is a perfect example because it's so tangible for people to understand. Talking about infrastructure here in Alsea, right? So we can say that we want to support Governor Kotek's interest in building more housing by increasing density in Alsea, right? Or we want to say we want smaller lots and we want cottage clusters and, whatever the kind of interests that come out of these types of exercises are, but what impact does that have? So we need to measure impact so that we can help people make informed decisions about what it is that they think they want. Because infrastructure is a big piece of that, right? So if you don't have the infrastructure to support increased housing, then what do we do about it? It doesn't mean that it's a no-go, but it means that we need to probably determine whether we can address the infrastructure problem in order to support more housing.
So
That can look like
about your
grant money.
housing right here. You're not talking about housing out in all of our hundreds of acres.
Yeah, we have
Thousands
our
of
own
acres.
septic systems, our own.
Where we
wells.
would pay-
So what
Right.
What infrastructure are you referring to?
Are you, you're just referring right there's somebody in the way.
Probably.
I don't know if I can
would be
get
the
them.
only thing I can.
Yeah,
I was gonna,
So it really, I'll answer your question.
Rural,
So in rural contexts, this is where you have to, there's community systems that we have throughout the county. I think we have 4 or 5, is my best recollection of basically county operated infrastructure systems, sewer and water. So in those environments, can the septic, can those sewer systems accommodate additional growth? But when you're talking about outside of those systems in rural contexts, the county has a lot of challenges with soils, for example. So
what?
soil type, yep. So I'll use ADUs as a great example of where this becomes very challenging in a place like Benton County. There are a lot of places throughout Benton County where it's very challenging to build a house, period. A lot of people are interested in looking at ADUs. That's a whole other thing, going forward as a mechanism to increase housing.
The challenge being engineering type challenge?
Soils related challenge.
Okay,
Yeah.
Big system. That's
Yeah.
what you mean.
Yeah, so, this is what our environmental health department handles, kind of like septic, sorry, I should say sewer. For community development, so we're not as closely involved in the sort of sewer permitting. But what we often hear from them is, this would be a great place to build, but you can't have a septic system there. The soil won't support it. Another issue that we frequently see in South Benton County is lack of water. So one of the things that you really need to have, it's an absolute non-negotiable to build a house or, anything beyond a house especially, is access to water. So in order to get that building permit, you have to be able to show a certain gallons per minute of water flow. And a lot of places throughout South Benton County don't reach that flow rate. So there are places that are essentially not buildable. So one of the things I was gonna.
If you had the opportunity to drill a well and apply, can we even get to that point now?
See, that's my,
Zoning wise, you're talking.
Yeah,
just a building right. You gotta prove those
Yeah.
things no matter what.
Yeah, if you're
It's
talking about
already
zoning, that's
part
kind
of
of that's another
Deal.
preliminary layer. Yeah,
Yeah. I have a question.
sure.
There's an existing house that's not inhabited, an older house.
Uh-huh.
My understanding, you have to approve a system repair or upgrade. No matter what.
For the sewer.
Yeah. And that can go back. Even a place that's been demolished 18 years. So you have to approve a system. Also, it seems like the modern systems really don't absorb that much water. The electronic systems, they're designed to be. I disagree with them, but at any rate, they don't require much of a drain field. And it's all digested and stuff before it leaves the tank. So that would.
There are alternatives.
There's ways of doing.
They're very
this without a
expensive.
Brand new
Yeah.
system, and
Yeah.
a person could, have water delivered. So. I guess that's where I'm sort of exploring it here, because it wouldn't really offend anybody's land use plan, because it's an already existing house.
Mhm.
I mean, even if it's 1920s and burned down in 1970s, you can still have it. So, that's another thing that you haven't seen no one look into, because it opens up a whole bunch of opportunities, because this was much more inhabited, I don't know, 100 years ago than it is now.
So that's gonna be part of our plan, right? We're gonna add that into this comprehensive plan. About how populated this valley used to be and how the systems were able to support it. I don't think water is probably a problem for any of us.
There are areas out here that aren't
Don't have any
great,
water, okay.
but
That's,
that's what you test for. It's not gonna work. But
but
to
but
start
this
out with no
comprehensive
right.
plan will address a lot of these issues that we're talking about, right?
That's the idea,
We get to
yeah.
Add them in this.
It's kind of identifying the issues that are potentially causing difficulty. If it sounds like system repair of old septics is one of them, I think John had
I
a
mean,
comment.
you have to do, you can't say you can't have a septic system. If they have an existing house, if they had a 55-gallon barrel and some orange tiles, for example.
Yeah, and I will say, you're absolutely right about other systems existing, for sure. They're just, as I understand, very expensive
Those being repaired.
and essentially cost prohibitive.
Well, a lot of things about building out here are,
Yeah,
but if you have no right, you to
Right.
begin with,
yeah,
it's futile.
yeah.
If you have enough money, but yeah.
That's right.
Well,
I think John had a comment or.
Well, I was just gonna say that these are all great discussion, and I think it's terrific that you folks are knowledgeable enough about what your needs are in this community, but this is our opportunity. I mean, we haven't done a comprehensive plan in Benton County in 20 years. So now we're just laying the foundation to start looking for what we're gonna do in the next 20 years. Alsea's changed. This whole area has changed in the last 20 years. So this is our chance to maybe anticipate how we wanna manage that change going forward. If, like the incorporated versus unincorporated. If there is a community consensus to have more local governance and more say in how things are managed and how growth and development is managed in your community, that might be, maybe 20 years ago, you didn't necessarily have that as a priority, but now you do. So I would just encourage you that while we all have our things that we have knowledge about and that we're most concerned about, keep it broad at this point, because this is where we're laying the foundation for what our priorities are gonna be. And the priorities of this community are different than the priorities of other rural parts of Benton County. And they're different from the parts of Benton County that are right next door to the city of Corvallis, and they're experiencing growth pressure in a way that's totally different than what you folks are. So I would just encourage you to just, as we go through this process, to keep your thinking broad and big picture, because we're talking about what's changed in the last 20 years that we've seen, and what can we anticipate in the next 20. So, no, that's just my input without getting too far down in the weeds on specific topics.
Does the model include the possibility of changing, zoning?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, I think that
Updating, yeah,
gets to a lot of,
There's-
no, that's gonna be
The
discussed.
comp plan informs the development code, which defines the zoning districts. So if changes in the communities and in Benton County at large says we need to anticipate, for example, the rural village zoning district. And, I come out of a background more of a city planner than as a rural agriculture, farm and forest type planner. So I'm learning too. But if there is a need and a desire and to start having a little more, local say and a little more local control in the way things develop, this is the time to have that discussion. So the comp plan informs the development code, which then informs how land use is governed. Am I right? Okay. We've got an expert in the room, yeah. Okay, so my comment was just, these are great ideas, but let's just.
So zoning's on the table
Yeah.
eventually. Yeah,
yes,
I just
absolutely.
wanna make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, one thing that I do wanna specifically mention as, a task I can imagine will come out of our work program, or that will identify in our work program, is doing what's called a buildable lands inventory or a build out analysis, kind of the same thing. So that's basically like taking county zoning and saying, parcel by parcel, the entire county. What are the development constraints that we have, which are gonna be things like our existing, FC and EFU zones? Potentially, that's creating a development, it is creating a development constraint, right? Wetlands are a development constraint. Lands that have really steep slopes are a development constraint because they're essentially not buildable, it's cost prohibitive. Things like that, and you create a GIS map, kind of like what you see here. Where everything that is constrained by development is just kind of, you just say that's like grayed out, it's kind of off the table, more or less. And then you look at now what's left. Of what's left that is buildable, how many homes can we reasonably, based on existing zoning, can we reasonably believe could be built out there? So that build out analysis
There'll be
is,
discussion about what is buildable or not.
that's typically a GIS exercise that's based on, buildable is based on zoning, like the different GIS layers that inform what land can be developed or not
I think,
in present existing conditions.
I think Petra offered to create that tool for us, Randy, if you would like her to. For the committee's use.
So we could help define what's.
Well, we could
buildable.
look, we could see, would you like me to ask her to do that?
No, it's
Oh.
getting into the step lower, and
Okay.
you were mentioning, we need to get lower than that, is what defines buildability.
Mhm.
So buildable is really based on the, when somebody comes to the Benton County Planning Department or Building Department and they say, I want to build this thing, like, let's say it's a house. There are a series of things that planners and first planners and then people in our building division look at to say, to identify, is that project that you're suggesting or proposing, is that doable? Is that buildable on this parcel? So it's things like, are there wetlands constraints saying that like
Right.
half the parcel or the entire parcel is in wetlands and it's to the point that you're in the floodplain, you're in the,
But there's also graying out if the slope is too steep
Mhm.
and other technical issues, there may be workarounds that aren't being considered.
I think I see where you're going with this. It's not to say that that is a computational exercise. It doesn't mean in reality that nobody could ever build a house on that piece of, say there's some parcel that has a steep slope. If somebody comes along that has the money that they're willing to put into building a house on those steep slopes and we can engineer it in such a way that it's safe and meets all code, great. It doesn't mean that we're taking it off the table. It's an academic exercise to be able to share out broadly with people,
It's not likely to be buildable.
it's
but
not
we're
likely to be,
experts.
exactly, yes, that's a good clarification
Apply
point.
with a conditional use permit perhaps, in that
Yeah,
scenario.
it just depends on what the development constraint is, like what is the way around it. Yeah.
That it's available, yeah.
Yeah, so the buildable lands inventory is a way that planners can assess, do we even have space here to build housing in the way that we think we need it? And if not, what do we do about it?
I have a question that's probably way too narrow in scope.
Okay, and I think there's one over here, and then I think we should probably move on in the interest of time.
It just came to my mind.
Sure,
You can
yeah.
just shut me up if you want to. Is it in the code, is it available to build like into the hillside, like a cave type home that I've seen?
Oh, fascinating.
I've seen homes that, they have the earth up over them and they're more like a daylight basement, but they're built into the side of the hill. And that would, be an interesting
Yeah.
concept, if it's something that's allowed. I've never seen. one,
It's
right?
not something that is not, how do I say this? It, as far as I know, John, correct me if I'm wrong here, I
Right.
don't think our land use regulations say that you cannot, it's typically more of an engineering problem. With being able to have water, your sewer, it's kind of the necessities of life that make that cost prohibitive.
I know they
But-
exist. I know they
Do you know anything about, I remember looking into this once for
It's
slopes.
an engineering exercise, and it's, you're building into a hillside, it's slope, it's managing, removal and fill, and it's just,
It's getting your fire department access to it, that's a big challenge with.
there's a lot of things going to, it is permitted,
It is, okay,
it is permitted.
interesting.
That one, yeah, one more.
So, this to me is a 30,000 foot
Mhm.
plan. Okay. When we get to the end of the comprehensive plan, how much is that going to be? Because you talked about processes here, like the JF and some of the other things.
Mhm.
How much of that is really gonna be in the comp plan?
How much of the process of what is gonna be in the comp plan? Sorry, I missed
When
that.
you get through with the comp plan, you make recommendations
Mhm.
at the end.
Uh-huh.
How much of that is going to be, actual actions, or is it gonna be generic?
Are you kind of asking like, how do we implement? What's the implementation strategy? Okay, so, First, I would say primarily, the comprehensive plan is, like, what that document looks like is the recommendations. So often what you would see is, I usually put it into like a matrix form, so it's an implementation action plan, something like that. Sometimes that looks like things like applied for DOT grant funding for XYZ. So it creates a work list of the things that the communities have identified as what they need
Okay,
in order
so
to
we do
accomplish
get-
certain
yeah,
things.
so it's community by community, so it'll be Alsea will be part of it.
What I would, so without, again, so much of this, I'm gonna be very honest with you. It's a little difficult to predict because we don't know what funding we're gonna get to pull this project off, right? So we have to devise a plan that is doable within the scope and funding that we get. So because that's an unknown factor right now, I would say potentially a best case scenario is an action plan would identify actions specific to each community, you know, so we would be able to say, for LC, you know, we've identified this high interest, I'm just gonna, you know, this is maybe risky, high interest in increasing housing, right? Or maybe whatever it is, and whatever things need to go into supporting that community priority to create, it's essentially an action plan. That's what the comprehensive
Okay.
plan.
Okay, so we will
Yes.
have action.
Yeah, that's really, I would say, the big outcome of,
That's what we want,
yeah, that's what you want.
not just a generic.
Yeah, it's an action plan. Yeah,
The one piece, I know you wanna move on, but
that's okay.
the main thing that I took away from the meeting that we had a couple weeks ago
Mhm.
was the whole question of what parts of Benton County does this plan address?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm the only person who doesn't already get that, but can you do that one in a nutshell?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm gonna tag in Patrick as needed here. So let me first pull this up. Okay. So this kind of gets to the question that y'all were asking about, are we at a disadvantage for being unincorporated? So as you know, we have several cities in Benton County that are incorporated, City of Corvallis, Philomath, Adair, Monroe, North Albany. I think I got them all, right? So when we talk about a Benton County comprehensive plan, we are primarily talking about unincorporated Benton County. So the areas outside of those boundaries, those city jurisdictions, because those cities are their own jurisdictions, they have their own comprehensive plans, they're required to. So what the county comprehensive plan has to do, kind of by requirement, is be a coordinated effort with those incorporated cities to have alignment in what we are both saying we're going to do going forward. So that comes up a lot in the UGBs, for example, where we have sort of meshing of interest and oversight and jurisdiction. So there are also, as you all know, unincorporated community plans. So Alsea has one, I think Alpine has one, like I think almost every unincorporated, to the best of my knowledge, community in Benton County also has an unincorporated plan. So in much the same way, that is also the job of the county comprehensive plan to align its interests and action plan with what the community plans have said they want or don't want, or whatever their priorities are going forward. So this gets challenging because one might, of course, ask, well, if I'm a City of Corvallis resident, I have interest in Benton County's comprehensive plan. Can't I show up and contribute? Absolutely. You know, it's not intended to be exclusive in nature. So we are never gonna say that a Corvallis resident or a Philomath resident or, you know, somebody who lives within an incorporated city of Benton County can't participate. What this is more about is how we use our resources wisely, to me at least. It's about ensuring our resources are really more geared toward outreach and communication with the unincorporated Benton County, because that's what Benton County has jurisdiction over. However, City of Corvallis, Philomath, et cetera, all of those residents, of course, have some stake too in the way that Benton County develops over time. So they will be included, and, you know, certainly not going to oust city residents from participating. They would just participate in a different way, if that makes sense. Do you want to add anything to that, Patrick?
No, thank you, that's great.
Just have a question. Does that work in reverse? Can we go to Corvallis and Philomath and participate in theirs? And can we vote on things they vote on?
It's
If they vote on ours,
yeah,
it's not
so voting piece-
equitable in my mind.
Yeah, voting piece is interesting. I'm not sure, but as far as comprehensive planning goes, it's not truly a vote in a legislative sense, you know, it's an opinion sharing. So there's kind of a variation between that.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Sway.
It's
It is
sway, yeah,
Pushing
influence.
where you don't maybe.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will share with you, if it gives you a little bit of reassurance, is that when we do data collection and, you know, one form of data collection is surveying. Our survey does ask demographic questions at the very end to say, what community do you reside in? It's optional question, so people can, of course, choose not to respond. But the idea behind asking that question is so that we can understand where throughout the county people who are responding in certain ways to certain questions live. So ideally, if we get a high response rate for that, and people usually do indicate where they live, where they get a little bit more uncomfortable or less comfortable is responding to like specific demographic questions like age, race, sex, stuff like that. That's where people kind of drop out in terms of response rate. But that is the way that we kind of track that to understand, you know, like, is this entire survey just responded to by Corvallis residents?
Well, okay, but I mean, just as a broad statement, we wouldn't have this land use system if the people that were inside their urban growth boundaries didn't get to vote on it. It would have gone down in a flash. And every election is always.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the people want to leave Oregon and join Idaho. It's more than just me sitting here whining. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we can do with this comprehensive plan. If we can get what we need out here, but I have a question. Where does that survey live? Does it live on a tab on the website? Cause you showed it up
Yeah.
there, but.
Yeah.
You didn't say where to find it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pull it up here. So this is a QR code that you can use, so you can scan it with your phone to open that camera and it'll scan it and pull it up. So you can take it on a mobile device, like a smartphone, or you can take it on a computer. Sarah also has hard copies if you want to do it before you leave today, but it is accessible on the website. Yes.
On the website.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then-
sharing it with people, we need to tell them.
Yeah, and then there's that little URL right there too. But the easiest thing to do is definitely just say, go to bentonbelieves.com,
And then find it.
search for the website, yeah, or the survey.
And I'm gonna do some more outreach.
Yeah.
She's gonna send me that QR code.
Yeah, we're in the early stages here still.
Yeah, it's rolling out as.
Yeah.
we
Since I'm a
speak.
funny person. It comes back to, in this project and the funding that we receive,
Mhm.
is there funding for, mail outs?
There's really not in this phase of this project, so do you remember I had that one slide that talked about kind of phase one, what we're
Yeah.
doing in phase two? My hope is that in phase two, we might be able to allocate a little bit more funding for that type of outreach, but I'm sure you know, mailers are very expensive. So trying to do that, yeah, so trying to do that for all of Benton County becomes like a significant resource, like a significantly costly.
Well, if we were to try to find the money to. Yeah, we receive, could we get support from you?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, partnership is fantastic, right? I think any way that we can, if that's, and Sarah did, just to say, Sarah did specifically mention to us that mailers are really effective here. We just didn't, I talked to Peter about it, it's like about $400 to $500 to do a mailer for Alsea.
Mhm.
And then it becomes an equity thing. If we do that for Alsea, we have to kind of do it for all the rest of the county, and that becomes a very
And we can put it in
costly
Valley
thing,
Place.
but.
But the timing, yeah, I wanna try to coordinate that to hopefully get the information out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What was that? I didn't hear
the
that.
ABV, like, you know what I mean, yeah.
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 Yeah, and so that's kind of what we're hoping to do is use different, you know, there's newsletters, there's community.
I
So
know all that.
Rick
I know
Krager does an
that,
update, yeah.
But the things that we do don't work.
I see,
We don't get we don't get adequate responses on our surveys.
gotcha,
And it skews the data totally.
yeah,
In that outline that is the census tract. It,
Mm.
it becomes, it's, you know, we could go on about it. for a long time. The point is
Yeah.
that the data is so far off base,
Yeah.
it's unusable.
We just need to be able to get information out, just like.
Yeah.
Well, I could go off about.
No worries,
the
yeah,
Information here tonight.
Mhm.
sure, yeah, yeah.
Did
Yeah, I think if you're able to help us work through that, absolutely.
If we funded it ourselves, you would be on pickle because you wouldn't have the money to do it elsewhere in the rural area.
I think if Alsea wanted to fund it yourselves, that would be absolutely acceptable, you know,
Okay.
because it enables me to say, you know, this was something that Alsea really valued being able to do for its residents, and so we made it happen. But it would be kind of unfair seeming, right, to use the project funding that we have
Oh,
allocated for the
right,
county
okay.
just for one area.
I just misunderstood. I thought that even if we paid for it, it wouldn't be fair.
No, I think if y'all are able to help make it happen, then I would never say no. All right, Chelsea.
that.
I might say no. All right, so we went through our Q and A. So again, this is, remember, if you walk away with nothing else tonight, www.bentonbelieves.com. Tell everyone.
Find the survey there.
Yeah, find the survey there, exactly. I actually think it's, oh, you can try my pointer, right
I
there.
found it.
So get involved. Get involved is where you'll find that survey link. And just so you know, this is very early stage of that website. It's gonna continue to be built out over the course of this project. You know, it's, I would say it's somewhat bare bones right now. It was letting people know the preliminary information to get you kind of on board and understand what we're doing and why. But it will continue to grow over time. Okay, so now we're gonna do the fun part that y'all are here for tonight. I've called this the Keep It or Change It activity. Does anybody here ever watch the show Love It or List It on HGTV? Okay, that's what this is based off. HGTV nerd, can't help myself. So does everybody have a set of Post-it notes and a Sharpie?
No.
No, who's missing? Don will get you hooked up.
Who needs?
Yeah,
There you are.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Any other no's? Everybody's got their,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm gonna turn on the lights. We can see.
Yeah, that sounds good, thank you. Okay, so you should have Sharpie, your Post-it notes, and then those little dots actually are hanging out over on the table there, so we'll be able to get those after and I'll send it. So this is gonna be kind of like a two-part, I would say, kind of quiet, thinking to yourself, couple of moments here. So part one, we wanna hear from you, what do you hope stays the same about Alsea going forward? You know, we've talked a lot about like change and development and growth and things like that. For some people, that's very anxiety inducing and things that they don't want. So what I really want to hear first is, what do you love about Alsea? What do you hope stays the same? So thinking about it, and I've said broadly Benton County, and it's honestly fair if you think about it in terms of Benton County or Alsea, it's general. What do you feel makes it a special, unique, or enjoyable place? What's coming to mind for you? So use a couple of those Post-it notes. You can use one, you can use 5. It's entirely up to you.
And I have more.
Yep, we can always get you more.
There's no rule or one idea on each sticky note.
One idea per sticky note, please. Yes. And I'll give you all a couple minutes to just think through that. Also, drawing is encouraged if anybody has a. And then when you get those, just kind of push them off to the side. So what makes it special, unique, or an enjoyable place?
Notice is what we want to keep the same.
Yep, and do one kind of idea per sticky note.
And your slide refers to Benton County, but here we're just thinking about Alsea specifically.
I think you can do it either way. There's no right or wrong way. Yeah, so this slide is gonna be used in multiple different locations, so it's general, you know, you can say specific to Alsea, or it can be generally about Benton County. So it's not gonna be right or wrong.
Because my sticky notes would be different depending on whether I'm thinking about Benton County in general versus this specific area.
So. Cause you're thinking about like a city context, is that what you mean?
In general, I mean, some of the things I like about Alsea are not applicable in general in many other areas of Benton County.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it about Benton County in general. But I would say it about Alsea.
Just put in parentheses for me, Elsie specifically, then I'll have that as a note. But given that it's a comprehensive plan for the county, I'm trying to keep it. Kind of county general, yeah.
Thank you, Soren, I did it wrong.
I kind of did too, but I'm just adding my little, and making it better.
Give me like another minute or two.
Wait, am I doing mine? I put all my ideas on one.
No, so one idea per sticky note, and I can get you more sticky notes.
I see Janet, you and I, right?
It's all kind of the same idea, all right.
This is partially just so that we can kind of read them too, because if it's.
Okay, these ideas for each school.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why you gotta do one idea per sticky note, because we're gonna categorize them.
We're giving you flashbacks, everybody, we're giving you flashbacks, everybody. Doesn't know what they're supposed to do.
For sure.
You're like, stop. He taught third graders.
Ah,
Wow.
His
I taught
classroom was a
every grade.
beautiful thing.
Taught first
I
through
could
eighth,
never do it.
first through eighth grade.
He's terrible
Take
teacher.
your hat off.
I taught this kid right here. Yeah, he's the reason I have no hair.
Yeah, it's invite you to retire,
Right
right?
I'm such a good one.
I was gonna pick your one.
Oh, this is such a good boy.
I knew if you'd ask for it.
Right. Save yourself the trouble.
Right, like another minute, I see folks still writing a little bit.
Picture of this.
Does anybody need more post-it notes? Let me know if you do.
That's part of where census numbers are so off. See what the shape of it is, the pink.
You guys are having too much fun there tonight. I wish I was there.
Is it boring in LA?
I'm not there yet, but
Oh, we're not there. Got it.
Are you packed?
Okay. Let's wrap up that first piece. You can always return back to it here in a minute. So just kind of have those first set of sticky notes that you wrote kind of off to the side. Those are your keep it sticky notes, okay? So in a minute, we're gonna go over to the boards and you're gonna put those on the keep it side associated with the kind of categories that we have here. So the categories, transportation and connectivity, parks and environment, neighborhoods and housing, business and economy, public services and infrastructure, and then things that don't really fit under any of those is the other category. But hang on to a minute, because we are gonna do another kind of part 2 exercise here. All right. So, any more sticky notes needed?
I got a whole bunch of.
John, I think Sarah might, I mean, a couple more.
Right, but I mean, we get a little rowdy, don't we? She said, and that's when they started telling me.
Be sure to incorporate that in the minute. All right, so the next kind of piece to this is thinking on the other side of the spectrum. What do you hope changes going forward? So we kind of started talking about that already, so I can imagine where this is possibly gonna go. So thinking again about Benton County as it is today, what makes life hard? What do you feel is missing or could be improved? And those are gonna be your change it, sticky notes. So just make sure you keep them separate. And again, one idea per sticky note. And you guys have lots of great ideas, I'm impressed.
We've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And everybody has great ideas. Like when you do a brainstorm, it's just like,
Yeah,
because they all have their own angle, right?
it's true.
Yeah.
That's why we're gonna do the part. We're gonna do that. So what makes life hard? Or do you feel is missing or could be improved? Or just as a general angle, what do you want to see change?
I need more sticky notes. I've got a guy.
Yeah, right. What is it again? Hard, missing, or improved, right?
Yeah. And those are just kind of, that's just a phrasing to get your mind thinking, just what do you hope changes is really the umbrella question.
Mhm.
Switching colors.
Just make sure you keep them kind of, your keep its and your change its separate. Maybe one more minute or so.
Don't care that they're just kind of pipe dreams. It's thrown there.
That's okay,
All right.
nothing wrong with the pipe dream for now. Got to dream big starting out, right?
Want to waste a post.
That's okay. Okay. So now everyone can get up and the idea is put your Post-its in the kind of corresponding category of your keep it and your change it and just try to be really cognizant that you put it on the right side. If anyone needs help, I'm happy to help.
Can you figure it out?
I'll try. I mean, directly, let me know if I go wrong.
That's the change.
Change?
Okay.
I think you can, because they were pretty.
Thank you, Jen.
Always good when you post sticky notes.
You know, I was so skeptical of this sort of stuff, like at the school board when I first started and. It came like, trying to stuff on sticky notes, but really, and then the first time we did it was like your first superintendent search. Turned out it worked great, like
Right.
everybody's
Right.
talking.
Like,
Everybody's
everybody's got
it worked.
I tried.
Yeah, it worked. It came out just right. Okay, I said, that's working. It was so like, sticky notes, come on. I can make a decision
I
right
take it
now.
you didn't play offense when you're not, I played.
I played with a stick afterwards.
That and part three.
I did that.
Earlier, I had a. So we were talking about product farming. I'm trying to find somebody,
I think we're
at
neighbors.
least a 70 acre field.
Yes.
Hayfield. So they're grazing cattle, which there's stipulations for hay.
Well, you can't
Right,
probably
the
see my
current
house.
operator cost is zero, and that's too expensive.
That's the beginning of my driveway.
You know,
And it takes like a half mile to get up.
so we're trying to, because it's 70, and then there's some stipulations, so it's gotta be.
Probably see my headlights go by
But
sometimes at night.
the current market,
I always feel bad about that.
you make it,
Now you're.
so the cost would be like
The road's
$45 an
too
acre.
far away
Current market
from our house.
is too, there's too much of a liability, nobody wants it,
I'm so full, I'm gonna go.
including me, I turned it down.
I think there's a lot.
Too much of a liability. 150 tons of hay, which
Yeah.
you could sell for
I appreciate
maybe.
that.
This-
Depends on the year.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes
it.
$200 a
I'm gonna
ton,
pick up.
sometimes $100.
I'm flying down up at my house. Yeah.
But by the time you factor in fuel and employment costs, too much.
Where's it located?
It's Somerton Ranch, the big fields, I mean, some of the best fields in the valleys. And nobody wants it.
Who was doing it?
Ryan Chief, the big farmer. But he's getting older.
Sheesh.
And it's.
Not even like one of
He's
the
doing,
kids.
yeah, I mean, he gets it for free right now. He wants, does it for free, it's too expensive.
Gotcha.
And what is gonna happen, right? Is, could, I mean, it's not, but really, well, it's gonna be a net loss. because they've
No, I had a
got
whole
paid out.
thing about that.
It's just whole-
It's like all kinds of cars and then.
With a
when they
big
get this-
rancher?
You
No,
have
serious.
no idea where it is.
You'll find it someday.
Yeah,
the
the beginning,
beginning
and
of
you're
your
drawing from one, so
For a reason.
you figured out.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of your, putting them
That's
back.
the Ryan. Chief
One of your
is
kids is
the
in
Wheeler.
Wheeler.
He is, and that's the problem. He runs 500 miles.
Well, I told him where they lived, and then put them back.
He makes me
And
think
about it.
about
Okay,
I'm
that's
gonna
good.
But it's too much of a risk for him.
Even some guy in Texas, West
Well-
Texas, got, you know,
I mean,
feedlots.
Maybe he's got a project going
What's
somewhere.
the university there?
the money of making the hay
Okay. Got it.
and,
I'm from that part of the country, I'm telling you, like, farms here, farms here.
yeah,
And here's the thing. Out here doesn't mean like that. There's always people back there that would.
Do me first.
Yeah.
So you're telling me nobody wants to do something, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
it's not
That's
the
pretty
big
good.
road,
The girl.
the price.
Yeah, there we go.
It's,
Kind of.
'cause I mean, I.
Was that why you didn't have a pink
Those
mask? Yeah.
ones should be- can't-
Actually, I don't know about the color, but yes. Yeah, so I have the best one because apparently your immune system is low.
People that buy things back. But it's.
If it's like, so that you don't like. reject
Like,
it.
that was.
No.
These guys are like, you know, dollar.
I know, it's a little rough.
I'm just saying, there might be.
Well,
All right, everyone, there is a last piece to the exercise, when we've got our last couple post-its left. Just wanna say, I really appreciate all the thought you put into this, it's really fantastic.
Sounded like.
I think a couple things that.
I read it into it, you felt like you didn't have enough time.
Couple things I just think jump out right away is we have nothing that we wanna change as far as parks and environment, so it sounds like people are pretty happy with that sort of where we're at with things, in our kind of natural resources arena, which is not surprising. So I was gonna try to read these out. There's actually probably too many for me to try to read, but what I want to, before we move into the final part of this, let you all know is that you might see that some people have categorized some concept in one sheet versus another sheet, but it's really the same thing. Don't worry about that. That's totally fine. You know, that's my job to figure that out and figure out how we synthesize all that, but what I want to ask everybody to do now is kind of a final piece, because as you can see, there's a lot of priorities, right? So this is essentially telling us as planners, what the priorities are in this area. It's a lot. That's okay. But what I really wanna know is, what's your highest priority? This is a very challenging thing to ask. Bear with me in responding, but everyone's gonna get 2 stars. Yes, they're golden sparkly. I want you to choose what is your most important, keep it, and what is your most important, change it.
On your own sticky note.
On anybody's. sticky notes.
Anybody's sticky
Yeah,
note.
because the idea here is, there's probably things that you didn't think about maybe, that as you kind of look through here and you assess what have other people, oh, you're like, oh, shoot, that's, actually, I didn't think about that, that is crucial, right? So don't worry too much if you voted for housing on this board versus housing on that board, that won't matter in the end, it's all gonna be conglomerated together and I'll work that out. But as you're able, come grab your 2 stars and put 1 star on your keep it, your most important keep it, and 1 star on your most important change it.
Is
And
it
that is-
1 star per, board?
1
Or
star,
1 star per board side?
1 star for 1 keep it, 1 star for 1 change it.
So that means we have to read the whole thing first.
Just kind of skim, yeah, I was gonna say, I was gonna read them, but I mean, if you want me to, I can.
Oh, we can.
I think if
Whatever
you-
you wanna do.
It's, to me, it's helpful to read them because you can assess them in your own mind, kind of how you might take away, what you might take away from it. So yeah, there's gonna be a few minutes of reading and thinking about it before you assign your single star.
star.
Yes.
And I'll help hand out the stars, because they're a little tough to peel off here, so see me. They're stickers, so. One.
Right. Yeah.
Thank
It
you.
gives me an opportunity to read them all too.
Put 1 star on your favorite keep it or change it.
Sorry about that, that was like, that reminds me of baseball.
I got it. I got it. Thank you.
No, I don't.
Very few people coming, which means nobody's there to complain about stuff. One thing that I actually was thinking about right here is because our strategic planning sessions.
Yeah.
We do like.
Back in the day,
bacon
before
hybrid,
we-
sticky notes.
There was no.
You're missing your-
They're very tiny. They're a little hard to grab. I would have looked for tiny. Take it out.
What? Take the seat.
Along lines of how would Alsea ask for additional housing?
Oh, he's in charge. Well, and who got the applications and how to go to her and be like, have people applied? If so, they're gone. If not.
All these younger women signed up to do it, it was wonderful.
Well, that's why we're gonna be, I'm concerned about. the school board right now.
I know, right?
I will tell you, but I mean, Christine is to come back for her.
Well,
So I've actually been out there.
Just need one.
Working on this.
Need one for certain.
Our decentralized services.
As far as I know, it's decentralized. She said that she.
I mean, if, so you got high.
But I've actually gone.
I've got issues with the underground system.
Okay, I think you're only supposed to get 2. One, what your favorite.
I was actually at one point, Gary Hendricks.
Because that would get out of town, you can't do anything because the.
No, it was 2, your favorite keep it, your favorite change it on all.
That's all right, that's all right. Sorry.
That is hard. It's hard to ask.
Yeah.
Where we are.
Special election.
Good luck. Because when it comes down to it, we'll be looking at. But.
It's an interesting.
Concerns.
Very well.
Similar to.
Mary said they had both.
Right.
But I also wonder, like a lot of people who are school board are interested because they have.
This will be the.
Or they have a project. And I said.
With your. Say in our.
You don't get a fix anymore. First day,
Like someone had the.
your job.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of.
But that's kind of
City water.
that's serious.
Thing that you want.
How much
And sort of
actually
Somebody they don't trace to that.
But hopefully we.
It's shown on the.
Sure, that would be.
But that could make a difference.
Well, I've done this kind of work a lot, but this is her project. I've only been.
I've had some.
It's like ways for me to get around and.
Later on.
Well, I'm gonna let you pass amendment if you have.
He's gonna try some. Try. Kill. My wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've been thinking about switching from the CAC to the,
That certain one out in the drains.
I think.
No.
Well.
I'm thinking on the next year. If we do all this and we still don't get anything that we want, what good
I
are we?
appreciate. My working in collaborations with the corporation.
I heard it.
Are you talking in class?
Passing those.
Yeah.
I was like, that is kind of like some city sites.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a reason this funding might not be there because I can't do that. Pretty much. It's that and, I mean, even honestly, like federal questions were up in the air, even just for the county, you know, so. He asked for, trying to remember, I think it was either 350 or 400 to the county project.
Yeah.
To do a decent job. They're recommending it go wide. It's a lot of data analysis, obviously.
Vital role.
Using a consultant to do it. It wasn't, it was never. One of the deals he was. The question is how much. And then beyond that. Is what they have to.
When I was in the North
So-
Coast.
To me,
So a big part of it
each
really
of
is.
these little independent districts are individual.
All the time. And so.
And,
Very much so.
but really, but look at it like this.
In addition to county leadership.
This
I think
community
that support from county leadership.
is very,
Determines that.
you know, minus this spot. These, I mean, they're not the same. They do have a lot of differences.
And that's just.
But they are a lot more similar than 90% of the population.
There are multiple claims. Yeah, there was one that didn't get. One that did. And one that took her out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're,
One of them.
they're people, you know, one.
She said they really like to Alsea is like this.
Yeah, they do a good job, but it's the same.
Like,
One
they feel the most.
There are a lot of
Similar.
priorities.
Where communities are kind of an opposite.
So.
Yeah, and so, they're kind of over there, like, very
So we have.
support us, you know what I mean? and are-
Pretty much.
Interesting, isn't it?
It's actually on. the
Yeah.
website now.
It's easy to
But it's just not.
grow.
Public process.
From our perspective, they truly are, they hate the water district. Good collective. You know, they put the community center together.
So-
Right, we do not have a tavern. And that's.
Yeah, so what we're basically doing is, I'm kind of following the thinking ahead, because these is line redevelopment. So that helps with the data.
I know, you're provided in 79. You drove through it. I went as well, yeah. I was like, what? This is one meeting down there.
West Bend, one meeting up here in North Bend and South.
And spotted out, so this is where. That's where they, they don't even exist anymore. They all interbred with the barn out there, and they can't find anything, they all interbred with the barn out.
But now there's new.
Okay, what is it?
Marble mural.
Yeah. It's hard out now. What's the news of that too?
Well, it's the same thing, it's just different.
Do you remember that? Do you remember
I mean, same idea.
that vetch? You know, on your place, they're looking for the wild peas, for the blue, whatever, butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like, or something, which, yeah. And he said,
Yeah, so,
he was a young guy.
if you have
He was like
kind
that.
of community contacts there that you things to
Oh, yeah.
He said, I don't even know what.
right there. And I said, we're gonna have that. I think it's something that you.
Oh, I don't-
Oh, yeah.
So this is the website. Get involved.
There are tons of those. Like that. Plenty. Yeah, are, there are tons of.
Because
Oh, no,
there's stuff in West Bend
Okay,
that
just gotta scroll down. So these are. That's not accurate, was there earlier today? This is the one where, I think, so I think for all three of them right now,
and she found.
this one we know, right? These three are, we're just waiting for like last pieces to come together.
In this county.
My hope is that's gonna be in like the next one.
I wouldn't know.
That's guess I would. I don't know why this is not up. These y'all are here.
Hey, I have no feel. I have feel.
Oh. Are you getting a little itchy there on the back? Yeah.
All right. I'm done with my piece. So, you know, this is kind of the conclusion of our meeting tonight. What you'll end up seeing is, we'll basically take photos of these, to post so that you'll be able to see kind of what Alsea said, what, you know, and this, we're doing this all by CAC. So again, I'll just go over this really quickly. So, we started here in Alsea at the CAC, just kind of as a regional approach. We'll be holding meetings, in North Benton, Northwest Benton, South Benton, and then we're combining Mid and Ren into one meeting. These are all happening throughout the month of March. What we'll do is when we do this activity with each of those kind of regions, we'll post that information online on that bentonpage.com website, so you can see kind of how your peers across the county also view these kind of same things. And again, just check back on that website often, to see what's going on, what kind of project changes have occurred. And I think probably a little hard to see with the lights on, but that email address below, it's where you can reach me if you have questions about the project or concerns or whatever it may be that you want to reach us for. And that's it. Thank you for your time today.
So,
Yep, you bet.
on your
Thank you.
website, you're gonna have like collated responses for each separate places. Are you also gonna like do like a countywide, this is what people said? Might get that.
Yeah, the survey is going to help inform that as well. Yep.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yep. So as a reminder too, take the survey, please, y'all, when you get home and share with your friends, neighbors, family members.
It would be interesting to see like the, you know, here's what everyone else sees.
Exactly.
5 people said this is important.
Five hundred.
Countywide, you know, so.
You got it. That's the idea.
Supposed to be representative.
All right, everyone online, thank you for joining us. Have a good night.